there's some few concepts that I want to discuss here with you this afternoon, or rather this session. And some of these things, they're crucial, and some of these things you should be in concordant with them, because these are some of the things that are actually predicated to your most fundamental reason why you exist. I quote Fred Nietzsche when he says that if you discover your why, you can deal with any how. You start by finding your why, and your why lies with the ultimate question. And the ultimate question, it's nothing but the truth, and the truth is the meaning to your existence to this life. That it is what I'm trying to explain here, what I'm trying to delineate and create constrainment in your insightful to this phenomena, or rather to this concept. I don't know, I can choose to speak that way. It feels like every word that you're saying has some sort of a greater, it's connected to some, it's encoded and connected to some sort of a higher meaningful response to it. So any word you say, it becomes of meaning. The way you are aggregating different types of pitches and tone in reference to communication. But that's not even the discussion that even we're going to have this afternoon with you. The most crucial thing that we have to ask ourselves is that after every single day, you have to sit down and try to recall how exactly the day that you had, what exactly did you actually experience. And I'm not saying you try to to force yourself to think, but to sit down and recall. In a place where there's total silence, no distraction, just you and your thoughts. The reason why I'm saying this is because you're a being. You become. You're not the same person that you are yesterday, and you're not going to be the same person after this session or after a duration of passing of Venus of time. And time is just a measurement tool for mobilizing of life, mobilizing and mobility of life. Motion. It's a measurement of motion. That is by definition what time is. Now, if you decide, if you start to recall your day, it will give you exactly what kind of life you actually live in, or what kind of a person that you actually are, and where exactly do you stand canonically. Where do you stand in this multifaceted and intricate multi-dimensional plethora of life that we live in. You know exactly your position. And fun enough, every single day opportunity does unfold in your life, but it takes someone who's very cautious. It takes someone who really pay attention to the details. And there's a reason why they say that the devil is in the details. Like, you get to know a deviation in something if you actually pay attention to that specific something. That's the only way you get to understand a phenomenon. That's the only way you get to observe some sort of novelty, some sort of distinction from your comparison. And the opportunity when they come in ways that it's funny the way it unfolds themselves. It's very funny. You see, even when you're researching about something, there are certain basic things that you have to be concordant with them. Like, first of all, you have to know how actually what is you start first by distinguishing a variable. And in research, we define a variable as it's a characteristic of a certain subject that can be measured, and it does change based on the details of that specific subject. And we have different types of variables. Can be dependent variable or independent variables. Now, difference between what is actually is and the word define itself delineated. Dependent variable, independent variable. Now, independent variables actually is an outcome of dependent variable. Like, there was a time I was doing my master's in trying to create the awareness in how we are permeated by depressive symptoms among actually the Gen Zs, the student nurses. And I did an essay about factors that lead to depressive symptoms among student nurses at Cecil McNaughton College of Health and Sciences. It was lucky enough to host me there for a couple of years. But now I own this institution. It's part of my agendas. So now let's first understand how you actually write a title of a research. With from the factors that lead to depressive symptoms. And the independent variable are the factors that will be leading to the depressive symptoms. Because you're talking about students, you can talking about academic pressure, clinical workload, personal responsibilities, family responsibility, financial support. There's a plethora of things that can be happening. Even an aspect of person related factors like low self-efficacy, susceptible to some sort of genotypes that affects their genetics that makes them to become susceptible to depressive. Maybe they have a lesser production of serotonin. Low coping mechanisms. These are the personal related factors. And we live in life where stresses they always be there. Talking about family stress, talking about the family stresses, personal responsibilities, financial responsibilities. And in personal responsibility, we find people come from different disproportionated societal background. So you'll find things like personal responsibilities. This can affect really person how to handle themselves. Low self resiliency, when they become unresilient to the pressures of life. We call them the snowflakes. So don't become a pussy. Know how to handle and mitigate through the adversities and predicament of life. So as I'm saying that in research, that those are some of the things that you have to be in concordant with as you're writing your research. What is a variable? And now if you understand what is a variable, we can now go back to how actually we dichotomize in presentation of your research. One, you have to check the purpose. Why the fuck are you writing a research? And under the purpose, it is dichotomized into 3 distinctions. 1, basis or basic. You want to understand a certain just phenomena, how it works. 2, descriptive. And to describe a certain something. 3, maybe you are going to explore something. 4, maybe explorative, to explore. Now, and exploring can be maybe, if you want to, we call it explorative study, where you just want to explore something. Maybe you're in a company and it has started, they started implementing new policies, or even there's a new change of board of directors, or even board of management, and they've come with their own, some say, believe sort of working policies different from what it were prior being used in the organization. So one, it can undergo 3 stages. 1, let's say they just want to understand if it works. Where that's where it follows on experimental. Let's say you want to check to evaluate it, or maybe you want to compare it with can really undergo those stages. Another classification of research is the methodological approaches that was used, or thirdly maybe the aim of the study, and lastly the time dimension. Is it longitudinal, is it cross-section? So these are some of the things that you have to be conversant with in concordant when you're trying to formulate something. So based my knowledge on that, when you start to reflect how actually you had a day, it will help you to know exactly where you fall, or where exactly are you supposed to do. Crazy. Just crazy. I won't say it's crazy, but I'll have to speak. My thoughts is always filled with conversation, multifaceted of conversation strike my mind at every millisecond of my existence. Of course they are arranged, but there are lots of thoughts that are in my mind, and if I speak, let them be arranged and placed them somewhere so that I get to listen to them, to understand myself. This book really is interesting. This guy, Robert Greene, has a degree in classical studies. He is the author of several books, including The 48 Years of Power, The 33 Strategies of War, and The Art of Seduction. He lives in LA, Los Angeles. I always wonder, why do people do some sort of worship war? I don't know the transcendation that comes in after one undergoes some sort of war, what can be defined as a war. And by a very rational way, war is mostly brought up by private individuals who has a personal interest in certain phenomena. It literally is someone's fantasy that is actually being manifested. So nothing happens spiritually. Even the Nazis, the way they did some despair and dismal things, unspeakable things. It was all the fantasy of Adolf Hitler. This nigga, just one is, and this is a true epitome, is a true poignant epitome of when you feed to totalitarianism. Being led by a narcissistic, sociopathic asshole. That is what is given birth. That is what will be given birth to. Millions will have to die. How sad. How really sad is it? Although we might enter this situation with excitement about what we can learn to do with our new skills, we quickly realize how much hard work there is ahead of us. The great danger is that we give in to feelings of boredom, impatience, fear, and confusion. We stop observing and learning. The process comes to a halt. I don't know. I always think that majority of us, we work when there's a lot of pressure, when there's actually is some sort of deadline, and when there's no actually is a backup. That is where most of us actually do something that is meaningful. But after the moment that pressure is attenuated, we go back to the comfort zone, and we like it. We like it to, to live in that preposterous, cynical pattern of existence. Doing the same bullshit every single day, with no stress, with no anxiety, with nothing to keep you up to. And that's why, and it's funny. It's totally comical the way people think that they want to be successful, but literally they just want the good part of being successful. Because in a mere sense, what does being success mean? It literally means able to take care of a larger group of people. And you start by taking care of yourself. And taking care of people is if taking care of yourself is that stressful, thinking about over 100,000 people, they're actually depending on you. All that load is on your back. Now if you're not used to that, if you're not used to heavy workload, if you're not using to stay in a solace state, regardless of the pressure that is still being placed upon you, you'll break like a snowflake. If you're not used to stay, if your mind is not used to put itself voluntarily in a place where you're uncomfortable for quite a duration of time. And the sad thing, the crazy thing, majority of us do fall under that category. But when you ask someone, one day I want to be successful, I want to have this type of organization, I want to have this type of business, I want to be making this type of money, forgetting that even money is just a product of your value that you're providing to some sort of society demand. It's crazy. People use words but don't really understand the meaning of those words. And it's funny how their mind is so much concocted and impedified by narrative illusions on how they're actually supposed to live their lives. And it's crazy. Who the hell even knows how even themselves they're supposed even actually to live? They actually live themselves. We are all in our story. We are all in a journey of inquisitivity. To explore, to learn, to go into the unknown territory, because that is where things get to unfold. But the way the culture is predicated, you always want to stay in the known culture, in the known territory, so that you never grow. Because something to grow has to undergo pressure. And that's what this guy is saying here. The process, after we stop observing and learning, the process comes to a halt. You see, you can just read that part, understand, and you're done with this book. Because this book, what it denotes, it articulate about not in losing focus, consistency, this is where there's actually is an epiphany. If, on the other hand, we manage these emotions and allow to take its course, something remarkable begins to take shape. As we continue to observe and follow the lead of others, we gain clarity, learning the rules and seeing how things work and fit together. If we keep practicing, we gain fluency. Basic skills are mastered, allowing us to take on newer and more exciting challenges. We began to see connections that were invisible to us before. We slowly gain confidence in our ability to solve problems or overcome weaknesses through sheer persistence, consistency. I think that's it. That's all you need to know. Damn, I love wisdom. Yep, that's it. There's nothing else you need to know. Remarkable begins to take shapes. Some things remarkable, and it's true. Something remarkable will begin to take shape into your life, as long as you just don't lose focus. Continue observing, continue putting your attention to that thing, that specific thing, regardless what it. And here's the thing: there's no occupation that is more important than any other. It depends on the one who is practicing the occupation, because that is what will be judged. Because the value will be judged based on the actions, the product, the results that will be produced when the occupation is being practiced. So if you decide to focus on, and this is the thing that you can make you understand this, have more clarity, is that people pay to go and see people make jokes. Why? Because they're good at making jokes. So you can actually be paid for doing something that is considered not serious, and they actually are successful. So that is not my point. My point is that when you focus and you get good at any specific thing, you will get rewarded for, because you're good at it. So people will come and see someone who's good at whatever you're good at. There's another point that he has said is very important. It has reminded me of Renan Girard mimetic theory, that our lives is embodied to some sort of desire. Now, can be physical desire or can be metaphysical desire. Physical desire is something you see, you admire. Like when you see a good nyash, you admire it, you go, because that is lust. Maybe you see a car, you work hard to achieve that, to buy that specific car. Metaphysical desire, it is more of deeper, some sort of psychological desires. You want to live a certain type of life, and that you've seen someone actually attributing in their existence. So you start to learn, how do I actually fall into that trajectory. So what do? You start by making the incremental steps. In Atomic Habit, it talks about the small goals. It what actually matters, because life is made of the small things, because the small things is what will actually make your habitual dispositions So those are like your metaphysical desires. Now, why am I saying this? Because you live in your life. Let me tell you this: you actually live in that life that you're living right now, based on some sort of two things. It's fallen into dichotomies: one, metaphysical desire, and two, physical desire. There's someone and something you admire, and that's what you attribute in your life. And that is why you won't correct me when I tell you you are where exactly you are because of the choices that you had made prior as you're existing in your own existence. It's all choices that you made. Now, it is very dangerous when you start to play in that game of saying that it is a choice, but funny is, the truth is, it's all a choice. You choose to be where you are. No one is forcing you. You can choose the easy way by following the normality that people love to exhibit in their life, then more like a collective facade illusion, more far-fetched on how life is. It's like they already know the conclusion, which funny is, life do unfold itself every moment of its existence. Everything is new every time you observe. Nothing is of the same. Nothing does remain the same. Everything changes, even you yourself. You're not the same person that you are yesterday. And if you don't believe me, if I had asked you 10 years ago to explain to me where exactly you will be right this time, 10 years later, just a decade, you can't tell me that you will exactly where you are right now is the way you will be describing 10 years of your younger self will be describing of yourself. You can't. Same way you can't tell me you can describe yourself how 10 after a decade from now, or even 2 decades, where exactly you will be and what exactly you'll be doing at this specific day, at this specific month. You can't answer me. And you may think that you're in control of your life. You may think that you know what you want, but deep down you do, but you doesn't. Because these are very philosophical terms. These are things that require a lot of contemplation. You have to sit down and you have to ask yourself and have a very different point of view of thinking, because in that way that is when you experience catharsis. That is where you experience a form of epiphany. But if you fail to do that, you fall into the normality of the collective illusion where people play, where religion is based on, or rather where religion it's well permeated. And there's a reason why you find things like Christianity, it is well, in a very auspicious way, triumphing into the African societal culture. Reason being is because people from the low grade love to be sold the dream of hope that one day they'll get to experience agency, they'll get to experience power. They forget that in psychology we define power as a control, dominance, illusion. It's an illusion. It's psychology. We are all the same thing. And religion does play well the antithesis of this by showing you that how different you are, how of minority you are, by marginalize your existence, which is a very wrong thing. And that's why you'll find people who are Christian, they mostly fall under the category of depression, under the category of minority, because they have already been told how much they should be playing in a hierarchical pattern. They have to respond in a certain chain, so that, okay, let's go back to Christianity. For you to communicate with God, that is somewhere sitting watching over us, you have to follow a chain. First of all, you have to believe that you're not good enough, you're a sinner, so that when you already have that identity, and engraved in your conscience, that already deteriorates yourself. And from there, so for you to communicate to the higher being, you have to follow the chain. So who are you going to communicate? Someone who is more cleansed, more better than you, the pastor, the reverend, the priest, so that because they are more better than you, God will actually listen to them. Listen on your personal request better when you tell it directly to that person that is your favorite, to God, so that how can God actually reward the exact thing that you want? He'll have to talk with his favorite missionary, with his favorite being. And that being, I wonder even how the chain works, because let's see. Now, when you talk to your priest, it's crazy. When you talk to your priest, so the priest talked on your behalf to God. Okay, so let's say God has agreed, and then he will send. Now I understand. When he agrees, you get the blessings. But you can't go straight to talk to God unless you have a higher hierarchical status. Now, the thing is, and here's a question: definition of God is where the problem is, where the conundrum starts. I believe in God, right? I believe in God, in humanity, that we are all equals. I don't believe in religion, God, that my God is better than the God of Muslim. I don't believe in that religion. That is where my problem, where it is, because it starts to to group people, to isolate others, to give praise to others, to marginalize some group. These are going to go hell because they don't believe in our God, who is actually the true God. You get? That's where the problem is.